Commander Olivia Martinez stood at the large window of the diplomatic vessel, watching as the enormous space station grew larger against the backdrop of unfamiliar stars. Her heart beat faster. After decades of searching the stars for other intelligent life, humanity had not only found it but had been invited to join the Galactic Council. Nervous? Asked a voice behind her. She turned to see Dr. Alan Wright, the expedition's lead xenobiologist, joining her at the window. His usual confident smile seemed a bit forced today. Terrified, Olivia admitted. First contact is one thing. First impression in front of 37 different alien species is another entirely. The ship's captain announced their final approach to Celestial Nexus, the massive space station serving as the Galactic Council headquarters. Olivia straightened her Navy uniform and took a deep breath. 6 months of intensive diplomatic training had prepared her as much as possible, but nothing could truly ready a person for being among the first humans to represent Earth to the galaxy. 2 hours later, Olivia and Alan followed their alien guide, a tall, silver-skinned being named Trell, through the grand hallways of the council chamber. The architecture was breathtaking, soaring ceilings with floating light orbs and materials that seemed to shift colors as they walked past. The council representatives are eager to meet humans, Trell said in slightly accented English, courtesy of the universal translator technology they had shared with Earth. Your species has caused quite a stir. How so? Alan asked. You developed faster than light travel much sooner in your technological evolution than most species. Some find it concerning. Olivia exchanged glances with Alan. They had been warned about this. The fact that humans had gone from first flight to interstellar travel in just over 150 years was apparently unusual. The council chamber itself was a massive amphitheater with curved rows of seating platforms, each designed to accommodate the varied physiologies of different species. Some delegates floated in special atmospheric chambers, others sat on what looked like thrones, and a few appeared to be holographic projections. The Earth delegation was led to a central platform. Olivia felt the weight of dozens of alien gazes, some with multiple eyes, some with sensory organs she couldn't even identify. A tall, blue-skinned alien with elegant head crests stepped forward as the apparent leader. I am High Counselor John of the Galactic Council. We welcome the representatives of Earth to this historic session, they announced, their voice resonating through the chamber. After formal introductions and welcoming speeches, the council moved to practical matters. A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber, showing various planets classified by type. As new members, you must be familiarized with our planetary classification system, said Ambassador Creel, a Zalaxian with scaled skin who served as the council's science director. This helps coordinate exploration, settlement, and resource management across council space. The display showed planets sorted by atmosphere type, gravity, radiation levels, and surface composition. Olivia noticed a special category marked in red. What about those? She asked, pointing to the red-marked worlds. Ah, Creel said, his expression turning grave. Those are Class X, extreme hazard worlds, unsuitable for settlement or extensive exploration due to environmental dangers that exceed acceptable risk parameters. Olivia studied the images more closely. But many of these appear to be ocean worlds. Indeed, water worlds with over 80% surface coverage are among the most dangerous environments known to spacefaring species. The unpredictable currents, crushing depths, and volatile weather patterns have claimed countless explorers. Alan leaned forward with interest. But our home planet Earth is 71% covered by water. We live quite comfortably with oceans. A murmur spread through the council chamber. Ambassador Creel blinked his large eyes several times. You have bodies of water on your world, yes. Many planets do. But I speak of worlds nearly entirely covered by deep turbulent oceans. No stable land masses, constant storms, depths that can crush any vessel. We understand deep oceans, Olivia said. Humans regularly explore and work in Earth's oceans, at depths of several kilometers. The murmuring grew louder. Counselor John raised a hand for silence. Perhaps we are speaking of different things, Creel continued. These Class X water worlds have pressure conditions that would destroy any craft attempting descent below the surface layer. Alan turned to his datapad, quickly pulling up files. Commander, with your permission? Olivia nodded and Alan transmitted data to the central display. The council chamber suddenly filled with images and videos of human aquatic activities. Professional swimmers slicing through Olympic pools, surfers riding massive waves, deep-sea divers exploring shipwrecks, and research submarines descending into the Mariana Trench. The council chamber fell completely silent. These are not simulations, Alan explained. Humans don't just tolerate water. Many of us enjoy recreational activities in it. We swim, dive, and explore for pleasure. Some humans can hold their breath for over 10 minutes and dive to significant depths without any equipment. An insect-like delegate clicked rapidly in what the translator rendered as shock. You willingly immerse yourselves in liquid for enjoyment? Of course, Olivia said, surprised by their reaction. Don't your species swim? Absolutely not, exclaimed a furry delegate. Water is for drinking in small quantities, not for entering bodily. High Counselor Jean studied the humans with new interest. This is unexpected. None of the current council species have this comfort with liquid environments. Most evolved on worlds with limited surface water. After the council session adjourned, Olivia and Alan were escorted back to their temporary quarters. The diplomatic mission would last 2 weeks, with many more sessions to come as humanity learned about galactic politics, trade, and scientific sharing. As they discussed the day's revelations, their door chimed. Outside stood a slender alien with pale blue skin and delicate features. I am Senior Scientist Nara of the Aldurian delegation, she said in a hushed voice. May I enter? I must speak with you privately. Once inside, Nara looked around cautiously before speaking. What you revealed today about human aquatic abilities has significant implications. The Council classification of water worlds as death traps is not entirely scientific. What do you mean? Alan asked. 6 standard months ago, our exploratory vessels discovered a water world called Aquarix in neutral space. Initial scans suggest it contains vast deposits of rare elements crucial for advanced technology, but no Council species can safely explore or access these resources. And you think humans could? Olivia asked. Nara's large eyes fixed on her. If what you showed today is accurate, your species might be uniquely capable of exploring Aquarix. This could change humanity's position in the Council dramatically. Why tell us this in secret? Alan asked, suspicious. Because not all Council members would welcome a newcomer species suddenly gaining such strategic importance, Nara said. Some would prefer these resources remain inaccessible rather than see humans benefit. Olivia and Alan exchanged glances, understanding the implications. What humans took for granted, their evolutionary history with Earth's oceans, might be their greatest asset in galactic politics. I will send you the data on Aquarix, Nara said, moving toward the door. Consider what this might mean for your people. After she left, Olivia looked out at the stars visible through their viewport. We came here hoping to learn from advanced species, she said quietly. I never expected our ability to swim would be our most valuable contribution. Alan nodded. It seems humanity has found its niche in the galaxy, and it's underwater. 6 months after the first human delegation visited the Galactic Council, a new ship hung in Earth orbit. The USS Neptune gleamed under the sun's rays, its sleek hull designed specifically for the mission ahead. Unlike standard space vessels, this ship featured specialized equipment for ocean exploration, the first of its kind designed for an alien world. Captain Frank Daniels stood on the bridge, watching as the last supply shuttles docked with his ship. At 45, Frank had spent most of his career in Earth's navies before transitioning to the newly formed Space Force. His experience with ocean operations had made him the perfect choice to lead humanity's first expedition to Aquarix. Final. Personnel shuttle approaching, Captain, reported the communications officer. Frank nodded. Bring them aboard and prepare for departure briefing in 1 hour. The shuttle carried the last 4 members of his specialized team, people chosen not just for their space readiness but for their exceptional water skills. As Frank made his way to the shuttle bay to greet them, he thought about the strange turn of events that had led to this mission. What humans had always taken for granted, swimming, diving, underwater exploration, had proven to be their unique contribution to the galactic community. When Commander Martinez and Dr. Wright returned from the Council with scientist Nera's data on Aquarix, Earth's governments had immediately recognized the opportunity. In the shuttle bay, Frank watched as 4 people disembarked. Lisa Blackwell, a former Navy SEAL with over 200 deep-water dives on her record, led the group. Behind her came Dr. Paul Evans, one of Earth's leading marine biologists, Grace Peterson, whose underwater engineering innovations had revolutionized deep-sea oil platforms, and Sam Howard, a genius with data systems who had developed new algorithms for mapping ocean currents. "Welcome aboard," Frank said, shaking each person's hand. "The Neptune will be your home for the next 8 months." Lisa Blackwell studied the captain with sharp eyes. "Is it true what they say about Aquarix? That the entire planet is basically one giant ocean?" 95% water coverage, Frank confirmed. "The few land masses are mostly small rocky islands and some polar ice caps." "And the Council races really can't swim?" Paul Evans asked, still looking amazed by this fact. "Not a single one?" "Different evolutionary paths," Frank explained as he led them through the ship's corridors. "Most spacefaring species evolved on worlds with limited surface water. Those that did evolve near water developed technologies to avoid entering it, rather than adapting to it." In the ship's main conference room, the full expedition team of 25 specialists gathered for the mission briefing. Frank stood at the front, bringing up a holographic display of a beautiful blue-green planet. "Aquarix," he said, "located in what the Council calls neutral space, unclaimed by any member species. Initial scans show it's about 20%. Larger than Earth with stronger gravity and deeper oceans." Grace Peterson raised her hand. "What about the pressure at those depths? Even our most advanced submersibles have limits." "That's why we've brought you, Grace," Frank said with a smile. "Your team has 3 weeks of travel time to finalize the new pressure-resistant vehicles." Sam Howard, who had been studying data, files on his tablet, looked up. "These ocean currents are like nothing on Earth. They change patterns rapidly and can reach speeds that would tear apart conventional vessels." "Which is why we need your current mapping algorithms," Frank replied. "The Council races consider these conditions deadly. Their remote probes were destroyed within hours of deployment." As the briefing continued, Frank explained the true stakes of the mission. "Make no mistake, this expedition is scientific in nature, but it has major political implications. Several Council races have invested heavily in our mission, while others are watching with suspicion." The hologram shifted to show mineral composition readings. "Aquarix appears to contain large deposits of elements rare throughout Council space. Elements needed for quantum computing, faster-than-light drives, and advanced weapon systems." Lisa let out a low whistle. "No wonder the Council races are interested. And no wonder some might prefer humans don't succeed." "Exactly," Frank said gravely. "The Vex hegemony in particular has expressed concerns about our mission. They're one of the most technologically advanced Council races, and they've sent an observer who will join us when we reach the Council relay station near Aquarix." After the briefing, the crew dispersed to their stations as the Neptune prepared for departure. Frank remained in the conference room, studying the data on Aquarix when Dr. Evans returned. "Something on your mind, Doctor?" Frank asked. Paul hesitated. "These energy readings from beneath Aquarix's surface, they don't make sense for a natural formation." Frank looked more closely at the data. "What do you mean?" "There's a pattern to them. Rhythmic fluctuations that suggest—" Paul paused as if afraid to sound foolish. "Well, almost like a manufactured system." Before Frank could respond, the ship's AI announced that they were ready for departure. The conversation would have to wait. 3 weeks later, the Neptune approached the Council relay station, a massive structure serving as a waypoint between settled systems and unexplored space. The station's central docking bay opened to receive them, like a metal flower blooming in the void. Once docked, Frank and Lisa went to meet the council observers who would accompany their mission. Scientist Nera from the Aldurians was there, her blue skin seeming paler in the station's lighting. Beside her stood a tall, gray-skinned being with 4 arms and an expressionless face. "Captain Daniels," Nera said warmly, "it is good to see humans again. This is Zoran of the Vex hegemony." Zoran studied the humans with unblinking black eyes. "My government has strong reservations about this expedition. Water worlds are classified as extreme hazards for good reasons." "We understand the risks," Frank replied evenly. "Humans have thousands of years of experience with ocean environments." "So you claim," Zoran said. "We shall see if your species' confidence is justified or merely recklessness." Back aboard the Neptune, with the observers settled in their specially prepared quarters, the ship detached from the station and set course for the final approach to Aquarix. The journey would take just 3 more days. On the final day, Sam Howard called the senior officers to the observation deck. "You're going to want to see this," he said. As they entered, the massive viewing window was filled with the sight of Aquarix, a spectacular blue jewel hanging in space. Swirling patterns of azure, teal, and deep navy covered its surface, with occasional small specks of green-brown islands. Massive white storm systems moved across the waters, some stretching for thousands of miles. Even Zoran seemed momentarily awed by the sight. "It is visually appealing," the Vex admitted. "It's beautiful," Lisa whispered. "And deadly," Nera added softly. "No council species has successfully explored below its surface." Frank turned to his crew, a determined look on his face. "Then it's time to show the galaxy what humans can do." As the Neptune established orbit around Aquarix, the human crew made final preparations for their first descent. For the aliens watching them suit up eagerly for underwater exploration, it seemed like watching people voluntarily walk into a fire. But for the humans, they were simply doing what their species had done for millennia, going for a swim. The submersible craft named Manta hung in the Neptune's launch bay, its sleek black hull designed to withstand extreme pressures. Unlike traditional Earth submarines, this vessel featured flexible outer segments that could move like a giant stingray, allowing it to navigate the powerful currents of Aquarix. Lisa Blackwell ran her hand along the Manta's side as her team finished final preparations. "She's beautiful," she said to Grace Peterson, who had led the engineering team that designed the craft. "And tough," Grace replied with pride. "Rated for depth twice what we expect to encounter, with backup systems for every critical function." The first descent team consisted of 4 humans. Lisa as mission commander, Dr. Paul Evans to study the marine life, and 2 experienced divers named Kevin Morris and Diane Rodriguez. They would be the first humans, the first known intelligent beings, to enter the waters of Aquarix. In the observation room above the launch bay, Captain Frank Daniels stood with the alien observers, Nera and Zoran, watching the team's preparations. "People seem eager to enter an environment that has destroyed every probe sent into it," Zoran noted, 4 arms crossed across his chest. "Humans are naturally curious," Frank replied. "And water is something we understand." Nera leaned closer to the window. "Is it true that human children learn to swim before they can even walk properly?" "Some do," Frank said with a smile. "My daughter was swimming unassisted by age 3. Zoran's unblinking eyes widened slightly, the first sign of genuine surprise he had shown. Down in the launch bay, the team climbed into the Manta. Lisa took the pilot's seat while Paul settled at the science station. Kevin and Diane checked their diving gear, specialized suits designed for the unknown conditions of Aquarix. "Neptune Control, this is Manta," Lisa said into her communication link. "We are sealed and ready for launch. Manta, you are cleared for launch," came Frank's voice. "Good hunting." The launch bay doors opened beneath them, revealing the vast blue planet below. Lisa engaged the Manta's thrusters and they dropped away from the Neptune, beginning their descent toward Aquarix's surface. All systems nominal, Kevin reported as they passed through the upper atmosphere. Hull integrity at 100%. As they descended, they passed through massive cloud formations that towered higher than any on Earth. The Manta shook slightly as they encountered their first storm front. Wind speeds exceeding 200 miles per hour, Diane noted, checking her instruments. This would be a Category 6 hurricane on Earth. And this is considered mild weather for Aquarix, Paul added, studying the planetary data. After 20 minutes of descent, they broke through the cloud layer, and the team fell silent in awe. Below them spread an ocean that seemed to glow with internal light, deeper blue than Earth sees, with swirling patterns of turquoise and emerald green stretching to the horizon. "It's incredible," Paul whispered, already recording everything with the Manta's external cameras. But as they approached the surface, they saw their first challenge. Massive whirlpools dotted the ocean, some stretching nearly a mile across, spinning with frightening speed. "Those must be what destroyed the Council probes," Lisa said, slowing their descent. "Sam, are you seeing this?" she asked, transmitting data back to the Neptune. "Receiving your feed," Sam Howard replied. "Those vortices appear to be moving in a predictable pattern. Give me a minute." The Manta hovered 50 meters above the churning surface while Sam analyzed the data. Back on the Neptune, the alien observers watched with tense expressions. "The previous expedition sent 3 probes," Nera explained to Frank. "All were caught in those vortices and torn apart within minutes." "Manta, I'm sending you a navigation path," Sam's voice came through. "The whirlpools rotate in a mathematical sequence. If you time your entry correctly, you can slip between them." Lisa studied the projected path appearing on her screen. It would require precise timing and piloting, but it looked possible. "Roger that. Beginning approach." With steady hands, Lisa guided the Manta toward the surface, following Sam's calculated path. The craft dipped and weaved between the massive whirlpools, at times coming so close to their edges that the team could feel the pull of the current. Aboard the Neptune, even Zoran had moved closer to the viewing screen, his usually impassive face showing interest. "Remarkable piloting," he admitted quietly. With a final careful maneuver, Lisa guided the Manta between 2 whirlpools and plunged beneath the surface of Aquarix. The violent churning above gave way to surprising calm below. "We're in," Lisa announced, unable to keep the excitement from her voice. The team's training gave way to wonder as they gazed out at an alien ocean. The water was clearer than Earth's clearest seas, with visibility extending hundreds of meters. Strange, ribbon-like plants undulated in the currents, glowing with soft bioluminescence. "Oxygen content in the water is 30% higher than Earth's oceans," Paul reported, analyzing samples. "And the mineral composition? It's like nothing I've ever seen." As the Manta descended further, they encountered the first Aquarix life forms, creatures resembling jellyfish, but with complex, geometric patterns that seemed to shift and rotate. They pulsed with internal light, creating a living light show around the submersible. "They're not afraid of us," Diane noted, as several of the creatures drifted close to the Manta's viewing ports. "No natural predators their size, perhaps? Or, they're curious," Kevin suggested. They continued deeper, following a mapping grid programmed before the mission. At 500 meters down, they discovered an underwater mountain range with bizarre, perfectly formed spirals carved into the rock. "Are those natural formations?" Lisa asked as Paul zoomed in with external cameras. "I don't think so," Paul replied slowly. "The mathematical precision is too perfect. It's almost like—" He trailed off, hesitant to voice his thought. "Like what?" Lisa prompted. "Like they were carved deliberately," Paul finished, "by intelligent design." Before they could investigate further, the Manta's sensors gave a warning beep. Sam's voice came through with urgency. "Manta, we're detecting a massive storm system forming directly above you. Wind speeds exceeding 300 miles per hour, and building. You need to surface and return immediately or ride it out somewhere sheltered." Lisa checked the depth gauge. "We're too deep to make it back up through the vortex field before the storm hits. We need to find shelter down here." Kevin pointed to a dark opening at the base of the spiral-carved mountain. What about there? Looks like a cave system. Scan. Lisa ordered. It's deep, Diane reported after running the scan. It extends at least 2 kilometers into the mountain. No signs of instability. That's our best option, Lisa decided, taking us in. She guided the manta toward the cave opening, which was large enough to accommodate their vessel with room to spare. As they entered the darkness, the external lights activated automatically, revealing a tunnel with the same spiraling patterns carved into its walls. These are definitely not natural, Paul declared, recording everything. The patterns are consistent and mathematically precise. They navigated deeper into the cave system, eventually reaching a large chamber. When the manta's lights illuminated the space, the team gasped in unison. The walls gleamed with a metallic, silvery blue material unlike the surrounding rock. What is that? Lisa breathed, bringing the manta closer to one wall. Paul aimed sensors at the material. It's registering as element 122. That's not possible. Element 122 doesn't exist naturally. What are its properties? Lisa asked. According to Council data, it's crucial for quantum computing at scales we can barely imagine. 1 gram could power processing capabilities equivalent to all of Earth's computers combined. Kevin let out a low whistle. No wonder some council races wanted access to this planet. As they examined the strange material, a message came through, from the Neptune. It was Captain Daniels, but his voice sounded different, almost awed. Manta, we just received some interesting data from your scans. The energy patterns Dr. Evans noticed before, they're showing up all across the planet, and they're synchronized. Aquarix isn't just a water world, it might be something much more complex. The team exchanged glances, the implications sinking in. They had come to Aquarix expecting to find valuable resources. Instead, they might have stumbled upon something far more significant, evidence that this deadly water world harbored secrets beyond the Council's imagination. We'll need time to investigate properly, Lisa said, looking at the gleaming walls around them. Let's ride out the storm here and see what else this cave system can tell us. Outside, the waters of Aquarix churned violently as the megastorm raged. But deep in the underwater cave, the humans had found not only shelter but the first clue that humanity's comfort with water worlds might reveal wonders the galaxy had never dreamed possible. 2 weeks after the first descent, the Neptune had established a steady rhythm of exploration missions. 5 different teams now took turns exploring Aquarix's vast oceans, mapping its features and collecting samples. The Neptune's research labs buzzed with activity as scientists studied the planet's unique life forms and mineral compositions. Captain Frank Daniels stood in the ship's main laboratory, watching as Dr. Paul Evans examined a container of water, filled with tiny glowing creatures from Aquarix. They communicate through light patterns, Paul explained, pointing to the shifting colors. Almost like a language. Fascinating, Frank said. Any progress on understanding it? Not yet, but Heather Mills in pattern analysis thinks she might be able to crack it. Heather Mills was the Neptune's data specialist, with a gift for recognizing patterns that others missed. For the past few days, she had been unusually quiet, spending all her time studying the mapping data from the various exploration teams. Frank found her in the mapping room, surrounded by 3-dimensional holograms of Aquarix's underwater terrain. Dark circles under her eyes suggested she hadn't slept much. "Captain," she acknowledged when he entered, "I was about to call for you." "What have you found?" Frank asked, recognizing the look of someone on the verge of a breakthrough. Heather gestured to the holograms. "I've been analyzing the underwater formations across all our mapping grids. Those spiral patterns we found aren't isolated to the first cave system. They appear across the entire planet, usually in mountain ranges or near deep trenches." She pressed a button, and the hologram zoomed out to show a planetary view with dozens of marked locations. The patterns are too regular, too consistent to be natural formations. "What are you suggesting?" Frank asked, though he already suspected her answer. "These aren't random geological features," Heather said firmly. "They're structures. Built structures. and they form a pattern across the entire planet. Frank studied the marked locations. Could they be some kind of natural crystal formation we're unfamiliar with? No, sir. The statistical probability of these exact same patterns forming naturally across such distances is effectively zero. Heather zoomed in on one location. And there's more. Look at this area we mapped yesterday. The hologram showed an underwater mesa with what appeared to be regular, geometrically perfect openings along its side. Those look like entrances, Heather finished. Doorways designed for something to pass through. Captain, I believe Aquarix was either inhabited by or built by an intelligent species. Frank's mind raced with the implications. I need to see this for myself. Prepare a deep dive mission to this location. 4 hours later, Frank led a team consisting of Heather Mills, Lisa Blackwell, and Eric Taylor, the expedition's linguist, aboard the Manta. They descended through now familiar whirlpool patterns to the location Heather had identified. As they approached the underwater mesa, the regular openings became clearly visible. Perfectly rectangular entrances large enough for their submersible to pass through. This is definitely artificial, Lisa stated as she maneuvered closer. Can we go inside? Frank asked. Lisa checked the readings. Structure appears stable. We can fit with about 2 meters of clearance on each side. Take us in, Frank ordered. Lisa guided the Manta through one of the openings, their external lights illuminating a long, straight tunnel that extended deep into the mesa. The walls were smooth and lined with the same spiral patterns they had seen elsewhere. These markings, Eric said, studying them closely, they're not just decorative. They have consistent elements that repeat in specific sequences. I think they're writing. The tunnel eventually opened into a vast chamber that took their breath away. The space was easily the size of a football stadium, with soaring ceilings, and what appeared to be different levels connected by curved ramps. Most striking were the massive machines that filled the central area, strange devices with flowing organic shapes unlike human technology. It's a facility of some kind, Heather whispered. Can we dock and explore on foot? Frank asked. Lisa checked her instruments. The chamber has air, believe it or not. Composition is different from Earth's, but breathable for short periods. Temperature is cool but manageable in our suits. They secured the Manta to what appeared to be a docking area and exited in their diving suits, switching to the suit's air supply rather than their tanks. Walking carefully in the lighter gravity of the air-filled chamber, they approached the central machines. Eric moved immediately to a wall covered with the spiral writings, recording everything with his suit's camera. This is incredible, he said. I can see patterns forming. With enough samples, I might be able to begin deciphering this language. Heather was drawn to what looked like a control panel with symbols glowing faintly. Some systems still have power, even after who knows how long. Frank touched one of the massive machines. What do you think this place was for? Hard to say. Without understanding their technology, Lisa replied, examining another device. But based on the scale and complexity, this was an advanced civilization. Eric called them over excitedly. I think I found something important. This section here, the symbols are different, larger. Based on similar patterns in human languages, this could be a name or title. The others gathered around as Eric pointed to a prominent section of wall text. Any guess what it might say? Frank asked. Eric studied the symbols carefully. If I had to guess based on the pattern structure, something like the Hydrons or Place of the Hydrons, it could be the name of whoever built this place. The Hydrons, Frank repeated, an entire civilization that lived underwater. Not just lived underwater, Heather said, still examining the control panel. Look at this. She had found what appeared to be a map display, showing the entire planet with points of light connected by lines, the same points Heather had identified from their mapping data. This facility is just one node in a planet-wide network, she explained. The patterns we discovered on the ocean floor, they're not just structures. They're part of a system that spans the entire planet. What kind of system? Lisa asked. I think, Heather said slowly, it might be an energy collection system. These patterns match wave energy patterns from fluid dynamics. They could be designed to harness the kinetic energy of the ocean currents, Frank looked around the massive chamber with new understanding. They built technology that worked with the water, not against it. Exactly. Heather nodded. Rather than trying to resist or control the powerful ocean currents that the Council races fear, the Hydrons designed their civilization to use that power. Their exploration continued for hours as they recorded everything they could. Eric collected thousands of language samples, while Heather studied the control systems. Frank and Lisa discovered what appeared to be smaller vessels designed for underwater travel, confirming that the Hydrons had indeed been aquatic beings. When they finally returned to the Neptune, they found the ship in a state of high alert. Sam Howard met them at the airlock, his face grave. "Captain, we have a situation. The Vex hegemony has dispatched a military vessel. It just arrived in orbit and is demanding we cease all exploration activities." Frank frowned. "On what grounds?" "They claim our activities are disturbing dangerous planetary systems that could threaten nearby space. But that's not all." Sam lowered his voice. "During your deep dive, we detected a massive energy surge from the planet. Something activated down there." Frank exchanged glances with Heather. "The control panel you were examining?" "Possibly," she admitted. "Some systems were still powered. I may have triggered something when I was studying the maps." Council observer Nara approached them, her blue face concerned. "Captain Daniels, I must speak with you privately." Once they were alone in Frank's office, Nara seemed nervous. "The Vex are not coming here out of safety concerns. They're coming because what you've discovered threatens something more important, the Council's power structure." "Explain," Frank said. "The truth is," Nara said, her voice dropping to a whisper, "water worlds were never classified as death traps solely for safety reasons. The classification was political. The dominant Council races evolved on rocky, low-water worlds. Their physiologies make water environments impossible for them to explore directly. So they made sure no one would try," Frank realized. Nara nodded. "By classifying water worlds as too dangerous to explore, they removed resource-rich planets from competition. The Vex in particular have suppressed information about water worlds for centuries." Frank leaned back, taking in this revelation. "And now humans have proven we can access these worlds easily." "Worse for them," Nara said. "You've discovered technology. From an advanced aquatic civilization, technology that could shift the balance of power in the galaxy." As the Vex warship drew closer to Aquarix, Frank gathered his senior team. What had begun as a scientific expedition had now become something far more significant. Humanity's first interstellar political crisis, centered around their unique ability to do something no other species could: swim in the waters that others feared. The USS Neptune hung in orbit around the blue world of Aquarix, facing the much larger Vex warship that had just arrived. The Vex vessel's angular design made it look like a massive floating crystal, with weapon ports clearly visible along its hull. In the Neptune's conference room, Captain Frank Daniels faced his senior team and the two Council observers. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. "They're demanding we cease all operations and withdraw from Aquarix immediately," Frank explained, having just finished communication with the Vex commander. "They claim our activities are dangerous and unauthorized." Zoran, the Vex observer, stood with his forearms clasped behind his back. "My government has legitimate concerns. Water worlds are classified as extreme hazards for good reasons." "Political reasons," Lisa Blackwell said sharply. "Not safety reasons." Zoran's face remained impassive. "The classification exists regardless of its origins. Your discovery of ancient technology only confirms the danger." Nara stepped forward. "The Vex fear what humanity has found here: technology that could shift the balance of power in the Council." "What are our options, Captain?" Dr. Paul Evans asked quietly. Frank considered the question carefully. The Neptune was a research vessel, not a warship. They couldn't fight the Vex, and they couldn't simply give up everything they had discovered. "I have an idea," Frank said finally. "But it will require all of you to perform at your absolute best. Instead of preparing for combat or retreat, Frank opened a channel to the Vex warship. "Commander Telek, I propose a demonstration rather than a confrontation. Send representatives to observe a coordinated human operation in Aquarix's oceans. See for yourself what we've discovered before making demands." After a tense silence, the Vex commander agreed. Not only would he send representatives, but he had also contacted other council vessels in nearby systems. Within 12 hours, observers from 7 different council species had arrived to witness whatever the humans planned to show them. Frank gathered his team one final time before the demonstration. "Today we don't just show them what we found. We show them who we are, what humans can do that no other species can. We show them why water worlds need not be feared." The plan was audacious. 5 Manta submersibles would descend simultaneously to different locations across Aquarix. Each carried both human crew and alien observers. Each would target one of the Hydron facilities Heather had identified from the planetary map. As the submersibles launched, Lisa piloted the lead Manta with Frank, Heather, and 3 alien observers, including Zoran. The descent through the atmosphere was now routine for the humans, but the aliens watched with barely concealed fear as they approached the whirlpool-covered surface. "You still believe this is recklessness?" Frank asked Zoran as Lisa smoothly navigated between 2 massive vortices. The Vex said nothing, but his unblinking eyes registered what might have been reluctant admiration. Once underwater, the true demonstration began. Each Manta live transmitted their journey to the watching council ships. The humans showed not just the technological wonders of the Hydron facilities, but their own natural comfort in the water environment. At one facility, Kevin Morris and Diane Rodriguez performed a spacewalk of sorts, swimming outside their Manta to repair an external sensor. The aliens watched in stunned silence as the humans moved through the water with practiced ease, their bodies seemingly as comfortable in liquid as the aliens were in air. "Your species evolved for this," murmured a Trillian observer, watching the swimmers. "Just as mine evolved for flight, yours evolved for water." At another location, Eric Taylor led aliens through the Hydron script he had begun to decipher. "They called themselves the Ocean Shapers," he explained. "Their entire civilization was built around living in harmony with water, not fighting against it." Meanwhile, Lisa guided her Manta to the largest Hydron facility yet discovered, a massive complex built into an underwater mountain ridge. Inside, they found the facility's central chamber, larger and more complex than the one they had explored earlier. "This appears to be a control hub," Heather explained to the observers as they exited the Manta. "The Hydrons built a planet-wide network to harness ocean energy." "How old is this facility?" asked an Aldurian scientist who had joined NERA. "Based on decay rates of certain materials, at least 50,000 years old," Frank answered. "The Hydrons reached a technological level possibly exceeding current council capabilities, and they did it all underwater." Heather moved carefully to what appeared to be the main control console. Over the past days, she had studied enough Hydron technology to understand some basic functions. "With your permission, Captain, I believe I can activate part of the system safely," Frank nodded. "Proceed." The alien observers clustered together nervously as Heather's fingers moved across the ancient controls. Lights began to flicker on throughout the chamber, and a low hum filled the air. On the Neptune and the council ships in orbit, instruments detected a surge of energy across the planet. The planetary map in the control chamber illuminated, showing energy flowing through the network the Hydrons had built millennia ago. "It's working," Heather breathed in amazement. "The system is still operational after all this time." Outside the facility, visible through large, transparent sections in the walls, the ocean began to glow with soft blue light. The massive energy collection arrays built by the Hydrons were coming back online, drawing power from the very currents that other species feared. In orbit, the ship's sensors recorded enough energy generation to power a dozen council worlds, all produced without pollution or radiation, a clean, renewable source beyond anything currently available to the galactic community. The demonstration complete, the Mantas returned to the Neptune. Frank invited representatives from all council vessels to a conference aboard his ship. The mood had shifted dramatically, from the confrontational stance of hours earlier. What you have shown us today changes everything we thought we knew about water worlds, said the Trillian ambassador, and about humanity's potential role in the Council. Zoran, who had remained mostly silent since the demonstration, finally spoke. The Vex hegemony acknowledges that our assessment was incomplete. The technology you have discovered is beyond our current capabilities. Which raises an important question, said another ambassador. Who will control Aquarix and its resources? Frank had anticipated this question. Earth proposes something unprecedented. Rather than claiming Aquarix for humanity, or allowing it to become another disputed territory, we suggest establishing the first Galactic Cooperative Research Institute. He outlined a plan where species would work together based on their evolutionary strengths. Humans would manage the aquatic operations, but engineers and scientists from all council races would develop the energy technology together. The benefits would be shared across council space. Different evolutionary paths have created different strengths among our species, Frank explained. What is deadly to one is home to another. Instead of competing, we should be complementing each other's abilities. 6 months later, on one of Aquarix's small rocky islands, the first permanent settlement took shape. Domed structures housed laboratories and living quarters for scientists from 12 different worlds. In the waters around the island, humans led alien researchers to explore more hydran facilities. Lisa Blackwell stood on the shore, watching the sunset turn Aquarix's endless ocean into a canvas of gold and crimson. Beside her stood a Trillian scientist, the first non-human who had agreed to attempt swimming lessons. Are you sure this is safe? The bird-like alien asked nervously, eyeing the gentle waves lapping at the shore. Perfectly safe, Lisa assured him. I'll be right beside you the whole time. Just like flying, swimming is all about trusting yourself and understanding the medium you're moving through. As they waded into the shallow water, with the Trillian fighting every instinct that told him water meant death, Lisa reflected on humanity's unexpected role in the galaxy. Humans weren't the strongest species, nor the most technologically advanced. But they had found their element, the niche where billions of years of evolution had prepared them to go where no other species could. Out in the deeper waters, other humans were teaching aliens about diving, currents, and water pressure. In orbit, the Neptune prepared to return to Earth with news that would change humanity's place in the galactic community forever. And deep below the surface, in a hydran facility now partly reactivated, Paul Evans made yet another discovery. Evidence suggesting the hydrants had not died out, but had deliberately evolved into a new form, becoming one with the oceans they loved. If true, Aquarix might hold even greater wonders waiting to be discovered by the only species that felt at home in its vast blue depths. The water worlds that everyone else feared had become humanity's greatest opportunity. Sometimes the most dangerous places for some are exactly where others belong. For humans, the invitation to swim where others dared not tread had opened a door to their true place among the stars.